4 o'clock. So let's get started. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our webinar Wednesday. My name is Kirsty Stephen, and I'm an assistive technology and additional support needs teacher here at Call Scotland. I'm delighted this afternoon to be joined by Jim Bowen from Scanning Pens. So good afternoon, Jim.
Yeah.
Scanning Pens have been around for over 20 years. The ReaderPens are extremely popular for supporting dyslexic learners and those with literacy difficulties. We know this firsthand at Call because they come in, they're being loaned out and they're in high demand and they're always straight back out again. So be good to hear about them this afternoon. So today's session is being recorded. I'm running flying solo this afternoon. I usually have Robert in the background, but I have remembered to pop on record, so we're all good. The link will follow today's webinar by email for all those that registered as well. So please ensure during the presentation that your mics are muted. And if you don't wish to be in the recording, then just keep your cameras off. The webinar will run for about 20 minutes and then we'll have time for some Q&A at the end. But if you've got anything during the presentation that you want to ask Jim about, then just please pop it in the chat pane and we'll get to it at the end. And without further ado, I will hand over to Jim. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you ever so much. And again, thank you so much for having us on the webinar. And it's great to hear, obviously, around the loan bank. I know from hearing from yourself and when I've spoken to Robert and the other guys there at Call Scotland that they're always loaned out. And that's really positive for us to hear. Yeah. So thank you so much for having us on. And let's get straight into it. So I know some of you are probably just joining or you're going to listen to the recording later on, which is absolutely fantastic. And yes, 20 years. And I've been with the company 7 years. So I've been able to really see how we've developed and introduced new ideas to the AT world. So I'm Jim. I'm the UK country manager for Scanning Pens, and part of my role is to help, support and nurture the team that I manage. And I also love doing webinars like this and speaking to an audience like yourselves to be able to talk about some of the exciting technology that we have. So let's go straight into the pens and what they're all about and why they're so helpful. I like to talk about this idea of being mid-tech. So they're easy to use. There's no real setup on our devices. When you receive the box, you get the pen, you get the charging cable, you get the headphones, and you also get a case for the device as well. And once you get the pen out, it does usually have some battery already in there, so you can straight away get it out and start using it. So compared to other kind of electronical devices, our devices are used so that they focus on the reading, they're ready to go and they're ready to use. And we don't require Wi-Fi or Bluetooth when using it, so it's quite a fantastic device to be standalone and to be used in the classroom. So any of those kind of worries or ideas you have around accessing internet or being distracted by certain apps, our device doesn't have that accessibility for you. So it is just focusing on the reading and the learning for the students there at home or in the classroom use. It also comes with headphones, as mentioned. It doesn't have Bluetooth capability, so you have to plug in the headphones. So there is some in the box, but you can use your own headphones as well. And obviously for hygiene reasons, etc., you may want to bring in your own. And it comes with a built-in battery, a bit like a mobile phone. It works off a battery for 2 to 3 hours to charge, and you get 8 to 9 hours battery life when using it. So a long time using it and a short time charging as well, which I think is really key when we're looking at some of the pens. And I say this to everybody that I talk with, and it relates to myself as personally as well. I've been someone who's had dyslexia, been in the education system and sat there and used my coping mechanism was to get myself sent out of the lesson. I'm sure you're probably nodding your head to students that you've worked with, or somebody like that, or you're individual yourself who's done that. And you know, for me, reading was really embarrassing. Being able to access books, I found it really difficult. On top of that, you know, my slow processing that came along with dyslexia was really difficult for me. So I understand having something that's distraction free to others and also doesn't give attention to you, because they're quite small and discreet. They look a little bit like a highlighter. People wouldn't know that you're using something to help support you with your learning, which I think is really key when it comes to that kind of secondary, older level student that you're looking at, and for primary schools as well. So those people as well. Our pens also scan over coloured text, coloured backgrounds. So anybody who's using coloured overlays. It also works from font sizes 6 to 24, so quite small to quite large text. So you can maybe even factor in students with visual impairment as well, which is key. So our devices can help scan bigger text, and it works with all fonts now. So it used to really struggle with like your Comic Sans or your artistic fonts, like from Diary of the Wimpy Kid, for example. But now it scans over all fonts. And from our new generation device, which I think we released 2 years ago now, it scans over with accuracy and much better sounding voice. So we have two devices that I'm going to speak about today, and they are different in different ways. So we have the C-Pen Reader 2. And one of the main benefits of the ReaderPen 2 is the all singing, all dancing device. So it has a built-in dictionary. So it has the Oxford Primary Dictionary and the Collins Dictionary in there. So basically with this device, if there's a word that you don't understand, you can scan over with our pen. So you can scan that word. And then what it will do is it will show you the definition on the screen, and then it will read it aloud back to you as well. And toggling between the Collins and the Oxford is great, especially for those users at more primary level, may want more simplified definitions. And maybe if you're in a more in-depth where the terminology is different, you can use the Collins dictionary. One of the most exciting features on here that we've got is the practice mode. So if you're going through the dictionary mode and say you're thinking, right, I've learnt these 6 words, but I've kind of forgotten them already, or I've forgotten some of the meaning of them, our device automatically saves them as a word list in the practice mode. So if you go into practice mode on our pen, you could see a word list of say 5 to 6 words that you've scanned, and then you can use this as maybe a intervention. You could use it as a discussion piece to talk to the Senko, you know, some of the teaching assistants, special needs teachers that you're working with, and it just gives you a bit of confidence and independence there. And because we've got 16 gigabyte storage on the ReaderPen, you really won't run out of room. And of course, we do have other languages on the pens as well, from English to French to Spanish and Italian most recently. But what it doesn't do is it translates these languages. It will just read them back to help with pronunciation. And you can use them as part of your exams. So if you're reading French question papers and you don't understand the question, you can scan it over with our device and it will read it back in that language. So I've already mentioned some of the settings from the dictionary mode. We also have the recorder facility. So this is just a simplified dictaphone that you can do to record voice clips into the device, and then you can listen back to it. Great for maybe recording instructions. Maybe you want to record a kind of positive affirmation, so you want to talk into it for the day, and maybe you just need that little bit of confidence boost. Maybe you want to play that back for yourself, or maybe you want to record the teacher speaking, etc., and it can just help to support with your learning. So that's just an added feature that we've got on the pen. And then we have this setting, which I really love, called the library mode. So I mentioned around 16 gigabytes storage. So if you weren't aware, our devices are Google partners. We were recognized by Google because of the way in which we can embed into laptops or computers. So what I mean by this is you can plug our pen in using the USB cable that you use to charge. And from there, you can scan text. So scan printed text, And then as long as your pen's plugged in, this printed text will swipe across to your computer screen, acting as if it's like a highlighter or a capturing data or text for you. So say you have somebody who really struggles to touch type, so they're looking at a paper and they can't quite type very well and read at the same time. So with our device, you could plug it in and start scanning that text in for them. So it saves on maybe finding electronic PDFs. And it's just that interaction that now from doing that, you're actually integrating the pens with other software solutions such as Immersive Reader, for example, that can then start to edit some of the text that you've scanned in. And we've actually seen this live with schools where they've had Google Translate on the screen and they've wanted to translate Arabic, so English into Arabic. They've scanned the text in and then it's gone straight into Google Translate, and then they've pressed the button and it's translated those languages. And that was from like a doctor's note. So that was great to see how we could potentially use it with other software solutions. This is something we did here in the UK in some of the Birmingham schools that we work with. So we're in a school in Birmingham with a wide range of diversity and students with different needs. We looked at it at a primary school level, and we took an 8-week project with 10 students from different year groups at different ages. And then from there, they were already on a dyslexia pathway, but they need additional support on top of their existing interventions. And from there, we saw an increase of 10.25 months on their reading accuracy, very similar to the comprehension, and obviously the reading rate improved by a mean difference of 7 months. So from using this in 8 weeks, they've already made 10 months progress on their reading accuracy and comprehension, which is just incredible and just shows you the impact that our pens can have on those students that are using it all day, every day. Well, probably not even using it all day, they're just using it in their interventions. So imagine if they're using it for their everyday lessons, so for their geography lessons, for their history lessons, where terminology may be difficult for them. So this may be a perfect solution to be used in the classroom. So guys, let's talk about the exam reader. So the ReaderPen, that is the all singing, all dancing, really exciting device that does everything for you. We also have the C-Pen exam reader too. I know we're talking here Scotland, so we may have a mix of UK and Scotland. So I'll also talk about the different exam boards within this. So here in the UK, we are JCQ approved, and it's part of their normal way of working. So as long as they've used it previously in their mocks, for example, or in the classroom, they can go in and use this as part of their access arrangements. Going to SQA, our device can be used. There we go. So our device can be used as part of the exam board for SQA, and it needs to be part of their normal way of working. However, you would be required to apply for the assessment arrangements. I think it's so you need to get that reasonable accommodation, but it is in their statement and it's under read aloud. And it says Dragon software on there, and our examination reading pen is on there as part of the access arrangements for SQA exams. So again, this does exactly the same thing from scanning the text and reading aloud to you, but it's just stripped down. So instead of having the dictionary, dictaphone and storage, it doesn't have those features. It just has the reader and settings features on there for you. And it also has other languages on there as well. And this device is so popular across, the UK, Scotland, Ireland. We've had some real success in helping to support people in their examinations. And I feel what it does is it gives them that freedom, it gives them that independence and confidence to scan the question and have it read aloud back to them. Again, this just gives you an idea of what the exam reader does. And one of the other things that I wanted to mention that the exam reader does is it has different settings that you can personalize and change. So not only can we just scan over a word or a line with our pens, you can also go in and scan in a whole paragraph. So there's a setting called auto read, So if it's selected on, which is the default, as you scan over with our pen and lift it up, it will automatically read the first line to you. Sometimes you don't need this. Maybe you need just one word or one line. Perfect. But maybe you need a whole sentence or a whole paragraph read aloud back to you. So if you select auto read as off, and we have resources that show you how to do this, what it will do is it will scan a line and it won't read it back to you straight away. So as you scan the line, scan the next line, or scan the next line, so a whole paragraph, you then press the middle button and it'll allow you to it will repeat the whole paragraph in one go. So it gives you a chance to start to read chunks of text instead of word by word or line by line, which can be quite laborious and really frustrating for students that need more than one line or one word. We also have in our settings the speed that you want the voice to speak back to you, which I think is really important. So you go into your settings and select text to speech settings. And in there, you can change the voice from it being really quick, which is the default, to being a lot slower. For someone like myself with slow processing, I need things broken down. You know, instead of reading the cat sat on the mat, you need it the cat sat on. You can see how that breaks the sentence down a little bit, and that's what our pens will do for you. It will actually break the sentence down and do it at a more digestible, slower speed for those students that may need that support. And we also have the left and right-handed mode on there, so you can go into left and right-handed in the settings, and then from there you can switch it from left-handed mode, which flips the screen upside down. So if you're holding it left-handed, it will look in the correct way, and if you hold it right-handed, it will look in the correct way for when you hold it. And the great thing is you can scan left to right and right to left, so you can scan backwards and forwards using our device, and it will still read from its natural side. So those are the settings and features, and both of those settings are on the exam reader and on the ReaderPen 2. So the ReaderPen 2 I see more kind of at your primary and lower key stages at secondary level, and then the exam reader is the one that you need to have ready and implemented for examinations. So the ReaderPen can be like your home use. You know, sometimes we see parents buying it. And then the exam reader is more for in school, for the exams departments, special needs teachers to use, ready to help support them. We love studies, we love hearing feedback. So anybody in this call today, if you've got any feedback, either it positive, negative, we want to help and support and improve on our devices and some of the services that we offer. We did a survey out to the UK to over 200 schools that replied back, and this is just a snippet. You know, 90% said they achieved their expected results or even better than expected when using our device as part of their access arrangements. And one of the key features for me was 98% said the exam reader 2 is a more cost-effective solution compared to when using human readers and one-to-one rooming. And again, you know, these solutions could work for somebody else. You know, someone might need that human reader, that scribing, you know, but you know, our devices could then help somebody else who doesn't necessarily need that support or struggle to use it. So it just gives you a wide range of options and makes assistive tech an inclusive approach for everybody. And I always love hearing feedback because it resonates with myself where, you know, they achieved a level 4 in their GCSEs and it actually give them entry to the course at a higher level than they hoped, which is just fantastic. And, you know, I love the fact that the teaching assistants is helping them to practice and giving them experience in their, you know, given the experience that they had difficulty around English language. And this just helps, and then that person's actually gone on to be an advocate of the pens and demoing it to lower key stage students, which I think is so important. That if you have got pens, how can you implement this further? Maybe there's an advocate at school that you can push on, or maybe you've got a teaching assistant who can be that advocate. I think this is just key to helping to support the implementation of the devices. And I think here, I can see I'm running out of time here, so I'll be quick. So we do have a guide, and these are all free to download resources called our implementation and user guide. we know training is really important, and we may have some of you in this call today that have used our pens and it hasn't worked out, or a student hasn't used them much. So we always provide free training like I'm doing today directly to the schools. We can send training videos to yourself that can be shared with students. And we also have free training resources that talk you through how to use the pens in more detail. It's got the diagram of the pens, it's got how-to guides, how to use the pens, it's got practice lines, and we've even got a certificate that you can print out to kind of give that empowerment back to students when using these pens. And these are free to download. And we also have the helping hands, which I love. It's just a short illustrations with stories about these characters who've got a neurodiversity. So the anxious owl is one of them, for example. And then on the right hand side, it has learning activities based off the story. So which word means disaster? Can you scan these words and listen back to them and say them aloud? So it just gets the student into using the pens and doing a learning activity as well. And again, there's a certificate at the end to say you've completed the training. So we do have trials, and we do offer trials to schools because we know once it's in your hands that you'll be interested in using our pens. So we are offering a pilot program at the moment for schools, which is that you can have 2 ReaderPens on trial, and instead of 30 days, you can use it for the 60-day trial period. We always say there's no obligation to purchase. Again, if you decide they don't work, then you can send them back to us. Recorded delivery is all we ask so that we receive the pens. And then from there, as part of the package, we offer free online training like I'm doing today with our account manager. So Heather is our secondary and Katie is our primary school. And we also offer regularly, once a month, free CPD accredited training sessions to help support you either in a secondary or primary setting. And from doing this, we have had over 200 schools take part in the programme and over 100 that have signed up for September. So please feel free to get in touch with myself or my managers. I'll pop my email into the chat. As you can see, I've copied this presentation from my colleagues and not myself, but I'll pop in my email. So if you are interested in a free 60-day trial, we can get that set up for you and help to support. Again, thank you ever so much for listening to me and my training. If you've got any questions at all, please feel free to pop them in the chat. Sorry, I didn't even have my camera on the whole time there.
That's all
so
right.
People couldn't see my tired face.
You were being anonymous there. Yeah, that was great, Jim. Thanks. And good to hear the results of your survey there as well. Like, it's impressive.
Yeah, there was
data.
quite a lot. So we're getting quite a lot, and we did recently do a survey out that you guys shared to Scotland. We had around 15 schools sign up for a trial and given some fantastic feedback around how they're implementing technology, which is just great.
Yeah,
really.
That's super. Well, there's a couple of folk just typing in the chat there, so just let them get on with that. Do you want to just pop your details into the chat as well, just so folk can get in touch if they want to, because I have no doubt that there will be some people that would like a trial. That's great. I was actually speaking with a school today, and another positive story that they were talking about a little boy whose face just lit up.
Yes,
literally,
it's lovely, isn't it?
When he was using a pen. So
amazing.
Yeah, just like life changing, really, for him. Terry's just asking there about pricing and if they're available in the US.
They are indeed, Terry. What I will do is, Terry, if you can leave your email, please, either in the chat or to Kirsten, I can get our US team to contact you. So we actually have a US team and an office there, so they could support you with that.
That's good.
Oh. So yeah, someone from the US team would be more than happy to support.
Just popped it in there.
Yeah, perfect.
2 questions and clarifications. What level, if any, of reading fluency is needed to use the pens effectively, would you say, Jim?
Great question. I mean, we're in many different settings. Students with very little literacy needs. I mean, to give you prime examples, we're actually in Scottish prisons. And basically what we've done from there is supported prisoners with no literacy whatsoever, who can't even read a letter that's been received by them. And to give you a kind of idea, a lot of those prisoners can now actually access the letters through using the devices, and have been able to learn new words and actually open their eyes to literacy. So I'm more than happy to send a few case studies on how this has helped support, but it's definitely a great question on how we can support. So the prisoners one is definitely something massive for us.
And Ruth's also asking that you said that reading pens could help improve reading skills, but she's wondering in what way. I know you shared the example of the detective agency where you were looking at, picking out, identifying
Of
words when you were
course,
hearing them
yeah.
in context. But
Yeah, absolutely. I see the pen as kind of a bit of a reading aid. So it doesn't actually do all of the reading for you, because I find with some things that, especially online bits, that just read the whole page and read loads of stuff to you, which sometimes isn't really helping people. So what our pens do is promote that independence, and what they do is they allow you to kind of, so for example, I'll use me as an example. I used to miss out keywords when I'm reading, which would then not make sense when I'm saying it out loud. So because you get that, we call it the kind of multimodal. So you're scanning, you're seeing it on the screen, and then you're hearing it. So it's the repetition of hearing a word. And a lot of the times, if you're sat next to somebody, you won't necessarily say to someone, "Oh, can you repeat that?" And then if you mishear them, you won't ask them, 3, 4 times. You might not ask them after the fourth time. So I think with our pens, it gives you that discrete way of repetition and hearing a word time and time again. It then sticks. So that starts to help to support with reading. I feel anyway, that would be my personal experience. And I think also because you're seeing it on a screen and hearing it at the same time, it gives you that kind of full learning experience, if that makes
yeah,
sense. Ruth,
yeah, I
which is a
think
great question for sure.
I think the other thing as well is that, when you are, if you're looking at a picture book and you're just selecting that one sentence underneath or the couple of
Yeah,
sentences, as you say, rather than the whole page at a time, it puts things into context against an
yeah,
image.
yeah,
And, like I'm thinking of like a maths textbook or something
yeah.
that, you've got the question underneath the image or, whatever. So
That's it.
it's backing up the
And
what's in the image.
a normal dyslexia trait is you skip words you don't understand really quickly. This forces you to read them, because that's what I used to do. I'd skip words and I'd be like, I would miss those key words that make the sentence just complete, make no sense if I've not read the correct word. And because of the reader pen using the dictionary definitions, you can just scan that word and go, wow, I don't understand that word. And also it helps with spelling, of course, because you're seeing it. Like, I don't know how many times I can't spell experience, you know. So I haven't been able to spell as experience. And imagine I live in my job and I have to say assessment. I always forget how many S's are in it.
It's a
So,
lot.
but yeah, you'll notice typical dyslexia trait is you skip words. I know I do that. I do that now. So the pens just reinforce that for sure.
Yeah, I think Ruth's agreeing that makes sense in the context of her son as well, so that's
Yeah.
good. Anyone else got any questions? I'm sure you will. Oh, they're going to pass on the information to their school about the pilot as well. That's
Yeah,
great.
perfect, Ruth, brilliant. And obviously, as an individual, as a parent as well, you can purchase directly through our website or on Amazon as well, which may be a little bit cheaper. So feel free to have a look on there. And obviously, the school can take a trial, so you can push them to do that. They may have pens, so it's always worth having a look as well. So
Yeah, always worth asking first.
yeah, without a doubt. And yeah, what we'll do, Kirsten, is I'll pop like an email template for yourself, just to send out to everybody my information and all of the stuff we've spoken about today.
All right, if you could just do that after the call today, that'd be great, and then it can go out with the recording, Jim, please.
Perfect. Yeah,
Great,
perfect.
that's super. Right, well, if no one else has any questions, we'll say thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Jim, thanks very much for your presentation. We'll be back next Wednesday, folks. We're going to be joined by colleagues from Queen Margaret University looking at toys that teach, representing disability in education settings. So enjoy the rest of your evening. Thanks very much and see you later.
Yeah, thank you ever so much, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Stop.